It's time to add a new habitat to the Jurassic Valley, and today we are building for a very special dinosaur, the DEINOCHIERUS, that was recently added to Jurassic World Evolution 3 with the new free update. This habitat will feature a large water section and a viewing terrace for our guests. I hope you guys will enjoy it! Hello guys, this is Caesar Creates and welcome back to my channel. We are finally back in Jurassic Valley and today we will be adding the DEINOCHIERUS to our park, one of my favorites out of the entire game. The DEINOCHIERUS was added to Jurassic World Evolution 3 with the latest free update that was released alongside the newest Wetlands pack. So to get it, all you have to do is update your game. And it is really worth it because I believe that it is one of the best dinos in the game. If you guys have been following this series, you probably know that we are building a first section of this park, and this is the Asian section. We already built an entrance and we've built two different habitats, one for the Protoceratops and one for the Guanlong. And today we are adding the third and the biggest habitat yet. So unfortunately, none of the species added to the game with the Wetlands pack are from Asia. I will definitely add them eventually to the park because I really like them, but we were still very lucky because we were blessed with the DEINOCHIERUS that was actually discovered in Mongolia, so this is technically an Asian species and I had to add it to our Asian section of the park. And of course build a very moist and wetlands inspired habitat for it that you'll see today. Not only I really wanted to add the DEINOCHIERUS because it is an amazing, beautiful species with some really amazing animations that you'll for sure see in the cinematics by the end of this video where I'll be showcasing the entire finished habitat, but it also has a little Polish accent. Because if you didn't know, the first fossil remains of the DEINOCHIERUS were actually discovered by a Polish paleontologist, Zofia Kielan-Jaworowska, in 1965. And as most of you probably know, I am also from Poland, so very proud of my country. We have some amazing scientists. And also, as it appears, paleontologists. There's also another dino in the game that was actually discovered by a Polish and Mongolian expedition, and that was actually the Gallimimus, which is also so cool to know. Okay, but let's go back to today's episode and our new enclosure. I had a totally different dino planned for the next episode, for this episode, but when the DEINOCHIERUS was actually announced and released, I knew that I had to build for it. Unfortunately, I didn't have a time to build for it earlier. I thought that maybe I would be able to do that during the early access time when I got it, but unfortunately all I could do was record a showcase of all the dinos and new scenery items and all the additions that were added to the game. So if you guys haven't watched that and you still don't know anything about the new DLC, I will put the link down in the description and on the screen to that video so you can check it out. But once I decided to build for the DEINOCHIERUS, I knew that I had to have a lot of water in this exhibit, especially that this dino can actually swim and has a very cool fish hunting animation, so I really wanted to showcase that. Because we are going for this sort of like realistic zoo approach while building those habitats in this park, I was considering doing actually like a concrete lined pool for this dino, but that would honestly be so much work and I really wanted to release this video as quick as possible. So I decided to go for a little slightly different approach and go for just a natural body of water. Zoos tend to do both, so sometimes they will do like the artificial just pool done with, you know, concrete or any other material like this that is filled with water, or they will just, you know, dig out some ponds and lakes, small lakes for the animals, or just use some natural water bodies that are simply located in the area where the zoo is. I've recently visited a really cool zoo that featured this a lot. This was a Hellabrunn zoo in Munich, in Germany, and they actually have a river flowing through this, or flowing, I don't know, through this zoo, and the river is floating through several enclosures, and the animals can actually go into the water and drink the water from it. There's obviously fence, so they are not able to swim away with the river, but yeah, they can actually use the water from the river, which was so cool to see. And this habitat right here will actually feature something like that as well, so there will be a natural body of water that the DEINOCHIERUS will be able to use. My other goal was to use as many of the new scenery items from the Wetlands pack as I will be able to. The pieces in this pack are amazing. I know that I'll be using them a lot in my builds, and in here I came up with the idea of building like a viewing terrace that will overlook this entire habitat. Using the wooden pieces that were introduced with this pack, they are so good. This unfortunately won't be usable for the guests because there's no like elevated path in this game or anything like that. But we'll have to use our imagination and just simply imagine that the guests will be able to use this terrace and just get this amazing view of this habitat and DEINOCHIERUS. Also, before actually creating this terrace, I also created like a small fence. We're using the rope pieces and poles from the new pack, so this is also something that I really like, and I cannot wait to even further explore those pieces and see what we'll be able to build with them in the future. I thought that this terrace was a little bit boring, so I decided to add like 2 of the pine trees that are growing out of it, just to pretend that they were already there and the park just didn't want to cut them down, so they decided to build this terrace around them, and I really like this detail in here. Again, I wanted to make the path for the guests a bit like higher than the entire habitat, so the guests can get this amazing view from all the angles for this amazing valley where our DEINOCHIERUS will be living in. But we did something very similar for the Guanlong last time, and I didn't want to repeat that to make those habitats a bit unique. So this time I went for a slightly different approach. So there will be actually a gap between the path, there will be also like a guest fence, a little planter, then there will be a gap, and then there will be a fence of the habitat. So in between the fence and the guest path, there is like this natural scenery basically with rocks, with different kinds of plants. And because of that, the entire habitat looks very natural, like this is just a scene out of the natural world. There's just a fence in there. I tried to make the fence as much invisible as I could while still making it realistic. So this is a typical fence that you'll see in habitats for example, rhinoceros or some elephants, basically bigger dinos. What dinos? Animals that are kept in zoos nowadays. So they usually use those like poles with the metal wires. So this is what I went for in here as well. The lower fence will be actually put in the water column. So there will be a deep water, so the animals won't be able to climb out of it while swimming because it will simply be too high for them. And the slightly bigger one or the taller one will be on the sides of the exhibit. And in the back we'll create a barrier out of the rocks, so there will be a huge rock wall in the back decorated with plants. By the way, thank you so much guys for all your comments on this series. I am so glad that you are enjoying it, that you like my videos. The response has been amazing, and I am so glad that you guys like my approach of creating habitats in this game. I know that it has been a while since the last episode, so sorry for that. I saw all your comments, all your requests for the next episodes. There has been just a lot of things going on in my personal life, in my work life, in my everyday life, so I was quite busy and tired, so I simply didn't have much, I don't know, drive to play the games, any of the games. I just, you know, covered some news that were sent to me by Frontier, and I sort of thought that I had to take a break because I don't feel the drive anymore. But right now I feel that it is coming back, so you can expect some new videos coming. There will be some new also Planet Zoo videos finally coming back. I am already working on a new new videos, so they are coming. But yeah, there are definitely times when this feels like a second job to be. So on my normal day, I go to work in the morning to the office, then I am back home when it's already dark because it's winter time. I go to the gym, I do some training, running, whatever. And then it is time to start, building, recording, I don't know, editing or whatever it is required to push out the new YouTube video. And that is basically my everyday routine. So sometimes I'm like, okay, I would watch some series, or I would watch a movie, or I would go out and meet with my friends. So then there is absolutely no time for YouTube when I want to do that. So yeah. Just so you can understand me a bit better, this is definitely not my full-time job or anything like that. I also got a lot of questions from you guys about some tips for building better habitats. I am very flattered that you are asking this. I know that this game and the modular building system can be a bit overwhelming if you are coming from playing just Jurassic World Evolution 2 without the experience of playing Planet Zoo, for example, or Planet Coaster. There is a lot of tips I could give you. I learned so much from just trying to recreate the real habitats for animals in Planet Zoo. For example, I went to the zoo, I took tons of pictures, and then I tried to recreate what I saw in the game, and I think that this made such a big difference when it comes to my builds. From what I tried to do that, my builds became much more realistic. But also a good tip I think that I could give you when it comes to this game, for example, is always get the scale right. So you have some different blueprints on the workshop that you can, for example, get the scale or for guests. Or a very good thing to do is something that I do in here as well. So I wasn't sure how big the DEINOCHIERUS is actually. So what I did was firstly hatch the DEINOCHIERUS and just bring it into this empty area just to have this sense of how big it is, because I didn't want to make this habitat too small, and I also didn't want to make it too enormous. So thanks to that, I was able to simply got the feeling of how big it should be, how big the viewing terrace should be, the entire path in front of it and everything. And also the other thing that I remember getting from some other YouTuber, I don't know who that was, so sorry for that, but I think that it also improved my builds a lot when I still didn't have my channel. I was watching a lot of different YouTubers playing Planet Zoo, and this basically inspired me to start my own channel. But someone shared this really cool tip that you should always build from the guest perspective. So when I build my habitats, I normally position the camera above the guest path, just to see what the guests will actually see when they will be just watching and observing this habitat. Those are the most important bits that you should make the most beautiful, the most, just spend the most time and attention on those bits. And the bits that are not visible to the guests are not as important. Of course, you can go crazy, you can build, things that no one will ever see, super detailed. But I'm not doing this, definitely. Some backs of my buildings in those games are simply blunt, there's nothing, because no one will ever see them. So why spend so much time for this? But yeah, the guest perspective is very important, and I am always trying to design my habitats with keeping that in mind, what the guests will actually see from the path. So everything should be focused around the guest experience. And there was also one more question. So you guys asked a lot about me uploading the Guanlong habitat to the workshop. And I can absolutely do that, but the problem is that when you try to save something like this as a blueprint, the whole habitat, from what I understand, the game will only save the actual building pieces that will come in this blueprint. It won't transfer all the terraforming, or for example the terrain textures or the plants that you add to using the terrain brushes. So that is kind of a bummer, because for example the Guanlong habitat, it has some really intricate elevations and ditches and stuff like this, and that won't transfer to the blueprint. So you guys will probably have some really tough time with actually recreating the terraforming from this habitat. Maybe I'm missing something here because in Planet Zoo the blueprints actually the habitat blueprints actually like transferred to the workshop with all the terraforming and stuff, and in here I don't think that this is an option. So for this habitat, for the DEINOCHIERUS, there's also like an intricate terraforming in here, so I don't think that we will be able to actually upload it fully. I can upload, for example, the terrace or the fences or anything like that separately, but not the entire habitat, probably. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I think that this just works this way. Okay, but coming back to our habitat, as you guys can see, I did a lot. So I added basically the whole nature part to this habitat, so a lot of rocks and also different plants. I added a lot of those broken trees that are scattered everywhere. I don't know, wherever I think of wetlands, I see a lot of broken and dead trees. Probably they have some very hard time growing in this very like soft and moist soil, because you know they don't have anything to grab on, so it's very easy for them to just fall, and that is something that I wanted to recreate in here. And I also added something again inspired by real life zoos, so something that we also created for the Protoceratops, which are the tree guards. So I can see the DEINOCHIERUS trying to wrap on the tree trunks, and I think that this could be quite harmful for the trees, so that's why I decided to add those tree guards in there. So the last thing that I will create in this habitat is the shelter and also the holding pen, so basically the whole backstage area for this habitat. This shelter will be like a typical shed, nothing too like interesting. Again, I am not trying to make interiors in this game because simply I am afraid that I will kill the performance totally, or simply, you know, those habitats already take so much time, and I don't really think that we need interiors in here. Maybe I'll do them for some other habitats we will see, but I definitely want to continue making those like backstage areas, because I think that they bring the whole park slightly higher level when it comes to realistic building. So this is something that will definitely continue. This is a bigger shelter that we created last time for the Guanlong. The DEINOCHIERUS is among us, so we had to keep that in mind. And yes, this is basically all when it comes to the building part of this video. So I will meet you guys in a second in the cinematic shots part to show you around. The DEINOCHIERUS habitat is finally finished, and I have to admit that this might be my favorite habitat in the park so far. And it works exactly how I wanted. It just looks so amazing when the DEINOCHIERUS is swimming next to this viewing terrace for the guests. We have 4 of them in here, 1 male and 4 females, and I think that this size of the habitat is just perfect for them. I love this diving animation for the DEINOCHIERUS. It just looks like a duck when it does this, and I am so happy that this dino was actually added to this game because it is simply amazing. Of course, the habitat for it had to feature a big water section. They love to swim and they really spend a lot of time in the water, but also around this water section. They also have a lot of space when it comes to the land section. And there is, of course, the entire backstage area for them. So I created a shelter and some holding pens, and I really like how this backstage area has turned out. I am very happy to see our Asian section growing. I already have a list of the dinos that I want to include in here. The DEINOCHIERUS was not planned, but since it was added, it was just a perfect contender for it, and I think that it is perfectly suited to this little section of our park. I think that in the next episode we will build for another carnivore actually, and then I think that I will go back to our entrance and add some more buildings to it and a plaza and stuff like that, because now it looks a bit weird that we have an entrance, then a huge gap and some habitats. So yeah, that's the plan for the nearest future. I must say that my favorite feature about this habitat must be the viewing terrace. It is a bummer that it cannot be used in the game by the guests, because it is basically a structure built with the scenery pieces. There is no elevated paths in the game, but We just need to use our imagination that the guests will be actually able to walk there and to see the DEINOCHIERUS almost up close. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed another episode of the Jurassic Valley. If you did and you are not yet subscribed to my channel, please consider to do so. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Ring the bell if you want to be notified every time I upload a new episode. And leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think about the habitat. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!